we didn't get high today, or like we tried to get on Suboxone, or when we tried to, do methadone, go to the methadone clinic.
Yeah.
We were trying to do all the things, and eventually, you know, that our addiction and what we were doing, like I started to do all those things that those girls talked about in that first rehab that I went to, and like started to get to a really dark place. I started having consequences of constantly getting arrested now, and and my sisters are getting arrested in and out of jail. I don't have insurance or anything like that. So me and my sisters are like each going to like a low bottom 7-day, detox center, just with like cockroaches on the ground. You know what I mean? Quick 7 days, get out.
This is Rock Bottom with Ryan. No sugarcoating, no filters. The pain, the chaos, the truth. No bullshit. Just recovery.
Hey everyone, welcome to another episode of Rock Bottom with Ryan. So good to have you back. Just so you know, this episode is brought to you by Sober Strong Apparel. Sober Strong Apparel isn't just lifestyle wear, it's battle gear. Heavyweight tees, hoodies, and gear for ones who draw a hard line. Clean, sober, no compromise. We rep sobriety like a badge of honor. And every place you throw on says you're a part of the crew that doesn't back down. 10% of every purchase goes to treatment facilities. I love what this company stands for. You get the clothes in the mail. It comes well packaged, comes with stickers. The quality is incredible, and it looks good. So definitely rock it. If you have anybody close to you who is sober curious, in recovery, or if you yourself are in recovery, this is the gear for you. It's amazing clothing, owned by an amazing person and ran by amazing people, and I love what the company represents. Please go out and support Sober Strong Apparel. Go to soberstrongapparel.com. Use code ROCKBOTTOM for 15% off. It used to be 10%, now it's 15%. Once again, soberstrongapparel.com. Use code ROCKBOTTOM. Check it out. A lot of great options on there. Amazing quality, amazing clothing. Love what they stand for. Thanks for watching. All right, welcome to another episode of Rock Bottom with Ryan, here with my co-host Rachel Sereni, and we got Amanda Crossley here today as our guest. How y'all doing?
Good. Thank you for having me. I'm so excited.
Yeah, excited to have you here, Rachel and I have been looking forward to this. And first, just to introduce yourself, do you have a sober date? What was your drink or drug of choice? Where you're from? All the basic stuff.
Okay. My sobriety date is September 10th, 2014. So I have 11 and a half years sober. And I grew up in New Jersey. So I'm a Jersey girl. I don't have my big hoops on today, but it's a hold my hoops kind of girl, And I live in Orange County, California now. I came out here to get sober and ended up staying out here and building my life. And now here we are.
Amazing. That's awesome. And what was that
was my question.
My drug of choice, the love of my life was heroin. And it was back when it was just like good old heroin, no fentanyl. You know what I mean? Back in the day. So yeah, I was an IV heroin user.
Wow. Okay.
Wow.
Any other drugs did you mix?
I mean, I did it all.
We're asking the same questions.
Yeah, I did it all.
We are asking the same questions. Where did it start, though?
Yeah, I did it all. I drank and stuff, but like heroin I worked in a pharmacy at one point. That's a huge part of my story too. So
You're a pharmacy tech?
So I got all the goods, you know what I mean? But eventually in what I felt like is like, once you start shooting heroin, there's like no other way. There's nothing else that like produces the effect of that. And that's what I would always chase doing any other drug or drink.
Yeah, exactly. It can pop some oxy, but it's not going to feel that result or that warmth that shot of heroin gets you. Yeah,
exactly.
Even I've never done it, but I've heard that there's nothing that compares. So,
yeah.
So what was, I think Rachel might have been asking this, but what was like life like growing up? What was your family dynamic in Jersey and all that stuff?
So, I have two sisters. I'm the middle child. We're all like 2.5 years apart. And my parents have been married to this day, 37 years they've been married. Good childhood, like normal. And what I mean is like nothing traumatic happened to me when I was younger. I played a lot of sports. My dad, he worked hard. I don't come from money, but we had like mostly everything that we would need, right? My mom had dinner on the table every night. But I was just always like the victim, meaning like nothing was ever enough for me from like very little. I always compared myself to everybody. I thought like, if only my parents, if only we had money, if only they did this, if only we didn't live here, if only like it was all these things like around me, and I would put the blame on everyone else. So never felt like enough. So what I did from a very young age is I strived for perfection and like became this like perfectionist of like just trying to over succeed in every aspect of my life, whether that's like, playing basketball, softball, or like my grades.
Yeah.
And then it's just both of my sisters are also alcoholic addicts, and they started to get loaded at a very young age. I didn't start like my addiction until I was like 18 years old. So my sisters, I remember my little sister being like 12 years old smoking a cigarette, and I was like, ew. And like my older sister I know she's taking pills. I don't know exactly what she's doing, you know what I mean? But I know that she's taking pills and hanging out with like the wrong crowd. And my parents had like all eyes on them, right? So I was just continuing to like, just be the good child. Ultimately, like that's what I ended up being. And that pressure, I constantly like felt that pressure. So it was a lot. And in high school, I started to drink a little like more and everything.
Right.
But my story isn't like, like I had that first sip of alcohol and like I arrived. That wasn't my story. I drank, I would like get super drunk, angry, like want to fight people, and things like
Yeah.
that. But I mean, I would just drink to like, like have fun. Do I think that everyone else around me enjoyed it? No, but so I would drink a lot in high school. I smoked weed, but it wasn't until I graduated high school and I met him, the love of my life. And I started to like party a lot more. And when I
Right.
graduated high school, a big part of my story is that I worked in a pharmacy. I was a pharmacy tech, and I met him, and he partied a lot, and he was into drugs. From hanging out with him, I met some of like his friends, and I decided like one night, the girls that I met, we decided to get a Roxy 30 and all
Wow.
split it. And like I knew what they were because I worked in a pharmacy. I watched every person come in, try to get their script filled, judge the shit out of them. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
Yeah.
disgusted with them.
You knew what you were doing.
Yeah, I was disgusted by it because of my sisters. At this point, they're both doing like Oxycontin and Roxy's. And so I know about the pills. I know that they're both doing it. And I decided, still knowing that, to just split a 30 with two of my girlfriends. So all three of us. That's when that moment hit of like, I did that and I threw up, and I was like, we should get another one, because everything did shut off for a second.
Mm-hmm.
It's just like I didn't have to like think about a bunch of things. I was just like in that moment doing that, and like that's all like that mattered, right?
Yeah.
And then it's crazy how like they talk about like sometimes quickly, sometimes slowly, because it did like at that point, I was like, "You know what? I'm gonna go to work tomorrow. I am in charge of all the inventory at work," because we're like very like trustworthy people. You know what I mean? We know how to get our way, like, and people depended on me and trusted me, and so I was in charge of the inventory. So I decided to just like take another pill. Like take a pill from work,
Yeah.
and it wasn't even like a thought like what could happen. You know what I mean? I just like did
Yeah.
it, and
Yeah.
then I got away with it, and it became easier. to do. So at this point,
Mhm.
like I started to steal like from the pharmacy, and that was my get down
Wow.
while I'm watching my sisters like, struggle trying to like, and they're like getting high, and I'm just kind of like
Mhm.
hiding it and doing my own thing. I was really like
Yeah.
living like two separate lives. Like it was exhausting, but it was
Yeah.
also like thrilling because life still was like manageable. Just like I've been working since I was 14. I just like got a new car. I was going to community college. I had the boyfriend, you know. I wasn't like fucking up like my sisters were. So
Yeah.
Yeah.
life was all manageable. No
Mhm.
consequences, like nothing was happening, and
On the outside, you look good.
Mhm.
yes, and I seriously thought that, like, this was gonna be my life, like, this is it, this is
Yeah.
the ticket, right? Because then
Right.
I started to fill scripts for, like, friends of mine, and,
Sure.
like, I'm getting half of that, and then I'm selling these pills, and then I'm having money too, and that is also something like I talked about. I've always, like I've always just, like, wanted money. I thought that money was the answer to everything.
Mhm.
And so I was like chasing that as well. And I'm like dating this guy who has at this point has like been to rehab a couple times, and I'm going to like meetings with him. Guys, I'm going to meetings with him and
Oh
just
my
like
god.
identifying as his like support, as I'm like getting high. But I didn't know that I didn't know anything about, like, this disease, like, I didn't know I thought that at any point I could just stop, but I realized at one point that, like, I was physically addicted to the pills.
Yeah.
Yes, yeah, so, like, one day I didn't have anything, like, left. I knew I was going to work, like, the next day, and I didn't have anything, and I started to feel, like, sick, and, like, my mind just started, like, racing. I went into that mode of, like and it just brings me back to, like, the very end where I was willing to do, like, anything and everything to get it, like, and that was, like, that first day, that first moment I was willing to do whatever to get something,
Yeah.
Yeah.
and that day, like, I think I ended up asking my sister, like, "Hey, like, do you know someone I can get, like, pills from?" And she was kinda like, "Whoa, what?" And
Yeah.
since they both got loaded and they knew it, and they would get loaded together. So they have this like, super like close like bond of getting high together. And I was always kind of like you're like, "Oh, Amanda's like
Like the
the
outlier.
better than." Yeah, like better think she's better than sister, right?
Yeah.
So the day I asked that, they were like, "Oh, shit." So she ended up getting me a pill, and like, yeah, we like did it together, but they had like no idea the extent of like what was happening behind the scenes, and like nobody did. I didn't even tell the guy I was with where I was like getting pills or anything like that. I was so shady,
Wow.
such a shady person. I didn't tell
Mhm.
anybody. Like, it was just my own secret thing, and that's just like
Mhm.
what I was doing.
Yeah.
I have a question though. Were you
Yeah.
at this point, you were snorting these? Were you like smoking them?
No, I was snorting them. Yeah,
Okay.
I was snorting them and like,
Mhm.
every going to the bathroom at work and just snorting them
Yeah.
and just like, every
Yeah.
chance that I could get, just snorting pills constantly. And then looking down on my sisters because at this point, like I know that they both have like done heroin, and like shot heroin. And I'm just like, ew, I would never do that. Like
Ew,
it's just
never me.
yeah, and it's just crazy to, like, look back and think, like, how I was because I never thought that I never wanted to be a drug addict or an alcoholic, and what I pictured a drug addict to be was, like, this homeless person with, like, no teeth living on the streets, and I pictured it like, the alcoholic, like, this old man living under a bridge with, like, a brown paper bag drinking his life away. That's just, like,
Yeah.
what the picture was in my head. And like here we eventually like are like three Jersey girls that like if you like looked at a picture of us at Easter at our fucking grandparents' house, you know what I mean? Like you wouldn't think that these girls are like will end up becoming junkies.
Yeah.
Right.
Can I ask
Yes.
a question? Like, just knowing that, like, the three of you, all different ages, and you being the middle one and stuff, you all somehow resorted to drugs to numb yourself. Do you ever figure out kind of what all three of you were trying to like escape at that time? Get all three of you getting into drugs?
I mean, we talk about it now. I think that, like, looking back, growing up, like, I think that we just lived in like a household where, things weren't talked about a lot. You just literally, like, picture this, like, we're driving, my dad is the coach, he's driving us like to softball, a softball game. On the way there, we're all like screaming, crying or something like that. There's just issues. But like the second we get out that car and start that softball game, like, that's it. Everything's gone. You don't talk about it ever again. You know what I mean? Like, there wasn't like any communication there. There wasn't like my parents ever telling us like, don't do this, don't do that. Like, they knew that at a young age we would drink, and like we didn't have like a lot of like rules on us. And I understand they were just trying to survive, you know what I mean, and do what they
Yeah.
needed to do as well. But yeah, I think that we just all suffered a lot in like silence, meaning like
Yeah.
nothing bad happening around us, but all feeling just like not enough, and then like never talking about it or speaking about it.
Yeah.
And addiction does run in my family. Like, my mom, all her like sisters and my cousins, they all are drug addicts, alcoholics. But
Yeah.
they all lived in California, and my mom brought us to Jersey. Like, that's where we grew up, and we lived there with like my dad, like, and like his family. So we were completely separate from them. We never saw that. We didn't know how deep, you know what I mean, and how far the apple really does fall from the tree. Like,
Yeah.
we just
Yeah.
didn't have like any, you know what I mean? We never talked about anything. And it's just like crazy to think. So, but then
Awesome.
I'm like working in the pharmacy, and that was like my get down for a while, stealing the pills until, like, eventually all good things come to an end. And I'm 22 now at this point. So this lasted, for a good amount of time of me stealing pills. And then I walk into work one day and I see the managers by the time clock. And like, in that moment, I knew that I was caught, right? And my first thought, it wasn't like, "Oh, I'm so sorry, I have a problem. Like, I need help." My first thought was, "Shit, like, how am I gonna get high today?"
Yeah.
Like, that's just like where my head went right away. And ultimately, like, I didn't walk out of there in handcuffs. I did it in a very sneaky like way. They couldn't like actually like prove it. Like, it's pretty crazy, but I walked out of there, and that's the first day I shot heroin.
Wow.
Wow.
Yeah.
And how did that come about?
Yeah. What was going through your head? Like, I can't get high the way I'm used to, so I'm gonna resort to the next best thing. So I've heard it's shooting heroin.
Yeah. So my like the boyfriend that I was seeing, he was like he was shooting heroin like here and there. And so, or probably, I don't know, not here and there, probably shooting heroin. And I was, in my own lane doing my pills. So I ended up telling him like, "Hey, I got fired because I stole pills and they caught me." And he was like, "Do you want to go to the city and get dope?" And I was just like, it wasn't even like a thought. I was just like, "Yeah, let's do it." But I was like, I'm not gonna shoot it. I'm just gonna like sniff it. He took me out to, cause like in Jersey where I live, I'm like a half hour from Camden. So Camden, New Jersey, like that's where you go. And we went out there and we copped dope, and you know, I sniffed some, and then I watched him, like he was shooting it up, and then I was like, "Hey, like, will you shoot me up?" And he was kind of like, "Really?" And I was like, "Yeah." And he was like, "Okay." So it just like
Uh-huh.
happened like that. And
Wow.
like, I remember being like scared to do it, but then once I did it and it had like that feeling, and like I've like watched like him before, like I just knew like it hits you right away, all the sick things. And it was like, dang, like that's the feeling that I want. And
Uh-huh.
like how like people say, because like eventually what it is, when people say like they hear like about like, there's sets, there like certain sets you go to in Camden and like you hear about people overdosing and
Yeah.
like dying and me and my sisters would be like, what set did they like overdose from? That's where we want to go. Like you want
Wow.
The
the good
stronger
dope.
stuff. Yeah.
Yeah, and it's just like crazy to think,
Yeah.
but that's like yeah, so that was like what was going through my head. I just like wanted to feel a new I was already like the shame started kicking in of me getting fired and what that was going to look like and what I was going to have to tell like my parents and stuff because at this point both of my older sister is in like rehab in Florida. My little sister married some guy in the Navy and is like getting high with him in El Paso, Texas. So like it's kind of just me at home. So I'm going to have to
Mhm.
like I'm gonna be home. I don't have a job. I'm not gonna have money. I'm like clearly like I'm like sick. I need drugs, you know what I mean? So I got high on heroin for like a week and then I was like, okay, I'm scared that the pharmacy might press charges on me or something. Like so I started thinking about legal stuff and I've never been in trouble before, So I had like decided to tell my parents that I need help. And when I told them, they were like shocked. Like when I tell you shocked, when I tell you like all eyes on my sisters and are so focused on that I was just like getting by because like you like said, life was like I still looked good. Life still looked good from the outside.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I told them and they were like shocked and then like disappointed and almost like here we go again and I ended up getting into like a rehab in Jersey and I went there for the first time. I'm 22 years old, go to rehab and I walked in there and I compared myself to everybody because here I am like I was just thinking there's women in there that were like hiding alcohol from their husbands and their laundry detergent like bottles. There's like chicks in there that were like selling their ass. Like it was just like I was like, "Whoa, I'm not like any of these people,
Yeah.
And I think that like I'm good. I just need a quick detox. I need to just like put down the drugs, and then
Yeah.
I'd be fine. I'm
Yeah.
not even I know when I get out of here like I probably will get loaded again, but I'm not going to do heroin. I was thinking like I'll just do maybe a pill here and there, but not 3 days in a row.
Yeah.
I can still
Right.
drink because that's not an
Yeah.
issue for me, right?
Yeah.
Maybe smoke weed, like just thinking, having this plan, right, in my
Yeah.
head. And I last 14 days in that treatment center. I don't like open a book. I don't like,
You don't
hear
embrace it
like
at all.
yeah, no, don't listen to anything. Like I don't listen to like,
Right.
what everyone's telling me in there. And I get out of there after 14 days and I get high right away. I get high.
Mhm.
I go and pick up pills immediately because I get out and my parents just like, yeah. I tell my mom I need money for like gas and I need to go. I don't know. She gives me like $30 and I go and like get high. And then I got high for like 2 days and I was like, oh my God, I think that New Jersey is the problem here. I think I
Hmm.
need to get out of New Jersey. And at
Mhm.
that point, like I said, my older sister was in Florida in a halfway house. And I decided that maybe I should go live out in Florida with my sister. And so I went out there with my sister. And again, don't come for money. My dad helped us get an apartment out there. He helped us we each had like a bed and a couch and a TV in the apartment in Florida, in West Palm Beach, Florida. Um,
Oh, wow.
and my sister, I think, had like 90 days sober, at the time or something like that. My parents are so clueless of like the reality of like this disease. And so was I at the time, and my sister, like we weren't serious about it.
Hmm.
And I would say within 2 months of living out there with my sister, we sold everything in that apartment and we were sleeping on an air mattress that had a hole in it. and we would wake up flat on the ground every morning because we started to it was at the time when it was like the pill mill in Florida, and
Yeah.
it's just constantly like
Yeah.
doctors just writing scripts for 30s, and you can get them like everywhere. So we just started to do like 30s together. And like I said, I mean, I got high with my sister like a couple times taking pills, but it wasn't like full blown like how like they were. And
Yeah.
I truly think it was just like a way that we started to like bond, was getting high together, you
Right.
know?
So you went on
Because
a
I
bender
was,
and started selling things off?
yeah,
Yeah.
sold everything in there and to get money just to get like high, you know?
Yeah.
After 2 months, like I said, I was like, "Okay, I think that my sister's crazy and she's the problem." So it's like, I think I need to get away from her. So there I was again, like putting it like the blame on
Yeah.
everyone else, on New Jersey, and now on my sister, that I need to get away from her. So I decide to go back to Jersey. So I left my sister out there to destroy her life even more, and I went back to New Jersey. And at this point, I'm 23 now, and my little sister just moved back from Texas, and she's at home. And I get home, and she's getting high on heroin. So I immediately start getting high with my little sister. And it was just like, boom, like,
Back at it. Yeah.
yeah, back at it with my little sister. And then I started to just start, like when we're just out there running and gunning, the people we meet and like hang out with, and you just like don't normally like hang out with them, and you would just like never
Yeah.
think to,
Yeah.
right? And I
Yes.
met these kids. I mean, kids, like, they were my age. They were like 20, 3 as well. And they're robbing houses. Here I am, and I start hanging out. They live in like motels out there in Jersey and just rob houses. They don't have a car or anything like that. I still had a car, so I would just drive them around to rob
Right.
houses, and then I would just get money. You know what I mean? Like from whatever they
Uh-huh.
stole, and get money. And I'm just like, okay, this is like, crazy, because I thought by the time I was 25, I pictured this life. I thought that I would be like married in this like house with a white picket fence, like all these things. This wasn't who I was supposed to be. And like I could not let go of that because I did have these good grades. I was popular. I played sports. I had all the friends. I had all these things, right? And like then here I was. And that just like constantly was in my head, so I just continued to, like, just get high to, like, numb that
Shut it out.
feeling.
Yeah.
Yeah, to shut it out. And then my older sister destroys her life out there, and she comes back to New Jersey, and eventually now, like, all 3 of us are getting high under, like, living with my parents.
Wow.
And it's like chaos, and a lot of people are like, "Well, how? Like, why didn't they kick you out?" All these things, like, and, like, when we were in it, it's like, yeah, it was crazy. I cannot believe, like, how they didn't kick us out, but, I mean, I think they were just scared that we were gonna go out there and, like, die,
Yeah.
if they just had a really hard time of, they were tr we were lying. You know what we were
Yeah.
lying about
Yeah.
everything. We didn't get high today, or like we tried to get on Suboxone, or when we tried to, do methadone, go to the methadone clinic.
Yeah.
We were trying to do all the things, and eventually, you know, that our addiction and what we were doing, like I started to do all those things that those girls talked about in that first rehab that I went to, and like
Hmm.
started to get to a really dark place. I started having consequences of constantly getting arrested now,
Yeah.
and my sisters are getting arrested in and out of jail. I don't have insurance or anything like that. So me and my sisters are like each going to like a low bottom 7 day, detox center, just with like cockroaches on the ground. You know what I mean? Quick 7 days, get out. And the other ones are getting, like, my sisters are still getting high. So, like, what do? I just start getting high with them right away. Like, I had no tools to stay sober. I didn't even know what it looked like. And that just was like the cycle of our lives.
Mhm.
It was just an endless cycle of misery.
Yeah.
And then eventually, and like a huge part of my story, and it is how like my like higher power like works in my life, is that I ended up one night, it was another night of chaos, like fighting with my parents, of them just saying like, you guys are pieces of shit, and like you need to just stop. My dad would say that all the time, just stop getting high, and it's like I wanted to so bad, but I couldn't. And my dad used to be like obsessed with Dr. Phil, and he would cut out like newspaper articles of like him, and like put him on the kitchen table, and then like also always have him on TV. And so one night of after the chaos, the fighting, I decided to like write a letter to Dr. Phil. And yeah, I wrote that letter. I sent a picture of me and my sisters. I just told them a normal get down like of our lives, and like what we did each day to get money and to get high, and what it looked like with my family, and like how just twisted it was. We didn't even have like, my dad took all like the doors off in the house because we weren't allowed to shut doors because he didn't trust us. Like not the bathroom, nothing. Like that's how like chaotic it was.
Wow.
Them wanting to like look through our trash cans because to see what it was, if there's any sort of tissue in there with any blood on it, anything. Do you know what I mean? Like it
They
was
like
sick.
they were like enabling, but they were still
Yes.
trying to regulate you.
Yes, that's
Yeah.
a perfect way to put it. Exactly. That's exactly what they were doing, and it was destroying them. And like it was just like, but I was in full of acceptance of like, dude, this is just who we are. We're gonna be pieces of shit forever. Like we can't change. I didn't see no other way out, honestly. So I
Well,
wrote that letter to Dr. Phil for like shits and giggles. And what ended up happening was I wrote that letter like when I was 23. And then 2 years later, when I was 25, I just got arrested, but I got out of jail. And my little sister just did 4 months in jail, and she just got out. And I checked my phone, and I had a missed call, a voicemail from the producers of Dr. Phil 2 years later after writing that letter. And they said, on the voicemail, they were like, we want to do a show on addiction next week. And basically, like, I laugh about it now, and like how like they put it was like, that phone call was like, hey, like, are you guys still pieces of shit? Or like, yeah, matter of fact, we are. I feel like that's how it went. And we were like, why not? We knew that we would get help. We knew we would get treatment. If you ever see like the Dr. Phil show, the people that go on there, they go and like they go the
yes.
treatment and they get help,
Yeah.
you know?
I'm like your dad.
Yeah.
I'm a big Dr. Phil fan. So, yes,
Nah,
definitely.
Yeah.
I'm guilty of watching quite a few episodes during the day unintentionally, but
Yeah,
it's
I love
interesting.
Dr. Phil.
Always good
Love the
interviews.
show.
Yeah. So that's like how that happened. And it was crazy. And we had to convince my parents to do it. But I don't think they truly knew like the extent of it. And I think they were just thinking about like, okay, then they will get help. But I mean, it happened fast. Like literally the next week, they flew out a camera guy, one guy, to follow me and my sisters around for 2 days of our normal get down of how we got high. And
Oh my God.
yeah, so he just followed us around. And then on September 7th, we flew to
Crazy. So you guys all
Halloween.
three were on here.
Yes, yep, there we are. All three of us
There
were
we
on
are.
there.
Sorry, my ADD gets the best of me, but I just had to check it out.
Yeah, no, no. And it's crazy to like, like look back and like think, but we
Yeah.
on September 7th we flew out here, and we brought our drugs out here. We got high, like super high. And then on September 9th, 2014, we walked on set of the Dr. Phil show and filmed it. And I don't know what we were thinking, because it was crazy. Like I said, I kept this a secret for so long from like so many people. Like none of like, nobody, like everybody knew about my sisters, but not truly about me. And it was like my deepest, darkest secret. And like here was like about to share it with millions of people. So that really started to click when I walked on set, like walked on stage. And like I see my parents, they were already on the stage before us and they're sitting in the chairs. And on the big screens behind them, as me and my sisters are all walking on stage, I just see us like shooting heroin. And like they're telling my parents, like, it's showing how we got our money to, like, get high.
Jeez.
Like, your family knows that, like, you drink and you drug. They know these things, right? But they never, like, fully, like, see it in your darkest, like, times, right?
Yeah.
Like, no one watches their kid shoot heroin, you know what I mean? And so it was just insane to watch. And then Dr. Phil, like, yelled at us on the stage and yelled at my parents, for being enablers. Dude,
Enablers. Yeah.
Ryan, I think at the bottom of
Yeah.
our episode, it said #enablers.
Wow.
Oh my
Yeah,
God.
that's
You
the
know what
first
to
thing that
name
came
it
to mind
now.
when they just kept getting you apartments and taking you back. I'm like, they are enabling. They obviously love you to death, but this has
Yes.
Yeah.
like gone too far. Yeah.
Yeah, they just like they didn't know how to like deal with it and they were big enablers. So
Dr.
on the
Phil wasn't
corner.
having it.
Yeah, no. So we yeah, he yelled at us all the things, but
I
basically
would
what
have
ended up
cried.
happening. Yeah, but we were high. We brought all our drugs with us and we were like going
Yeah.
out with a bang. So we were high, but like it was definitely hard to watch them yell at my family because it sucks to think for so long that I would say like just leave me alone, like let me get high. It's not affecting you. It's none of your business. But to really think about it and how much like what we do affects everyone around us, and how this truly is like a family disease and just watching it like they didn't do anything wrong, and like my parents had to suffer the consequences of like our actions. Like example, I have a niece, so my older sister had a daughter, and her baby dad would take her daughter away and like not even let my mom see them. They had to suffer the consequences from my sister's actions. It was like heartbreaking. You know what I mean? Like it's so sad to think about everything that we put them
Hmm.
through. But we walked off set that day and they sent us all to treatment centers, different treatment centers. Like me, I came out here to Orange County, California. My little sister also did go to Orange County too, to a different location. And then my older sister went to St. Padre Islands in Texas. And then obviously September 10th, 2014, that's still my sobriety date. After I walked off set and I went to detox and treatment and everything, I've been sober ever since. And what that looked like was I knew that this was a once in a lifetime opportunity. I wanted to die every single day in that dark place. I was 25 years old. I had nothing to my name, nothing to show. It was not a party, you know what I mean? I was sacrificing things. I was putting myself in shitty situations. I hated everything about my life and I knew that I had to take this opportunity and truly like focus on myself. And basically, I just wanted to be happy. It actually makes me
Yeah.
almost want to cry because, like, that's all I would
Mhm.
wish for. Like, just every day, like, to be happy. And I didn't even know what that meant. Do you know what I mean? Like, I
Yes.
didn't even know what being happy was
Yeah.
anymore.
I
Yeah.
And
know.
I think I was
Yeah.
chasing that feeling since I was little.
So pretty
So,
Yeah.
scary those initial months, like in treatment and everything. What were like some of the first things you addressed?
yeah. So, in treatment, right away, I went to I went to a really good treatment center that like was bougie, that had like a chef and everything. I was in there with like a lot of younger girls that were like 18, 19, and I'm 25 and I just kept thinking like, damn. And they all had like come from money. Do you know what I mean? And I was just thinking like, dang, like guys, like this is like such an opportunity. And like here I am. And I just kept thinking like, imagine if they stayed sober. And, like, you know what I mean? By the time they're my age and
Yeah.
they would have 7 years sober, like, all these things, and I was just, like, truly just like, "Whoa, I need to take advantage of this," like and I basically started to do like a lot of work on myself. Like I ended up getting a sponsor and started
Mhm.
to work steps. And then, just tried to have like started to have fun again, and I was I'll never forget, I was 4 months sober, and I just moved into a sober living. I got a get well job, and just rode. I didn't have a license because I was dealing with a lot of legal stuff.
Mhm.
And I remember I just like rode a bike to work. Then after work, went to a meeting, came home, ate something, got in my twin size bed at my sober living. I just peed in a cup for this 18-year-old girl who was like my house mom. And I'm like, this is my life now. I laid down in bed and I was like, holy shit, it's 9 p.m. right now. I didn't think about getting high all day.
Wow.
And that's
Mhm.
truly like when that moment of like, whoa, like I think like this can actually work, right?
That's amazing.
Mhm.
And then the Dr. Phil show aired and I was like, "Oh my god," and I remember, like, a week before it aired, it started showing all, like, the previews, you know what I mean, of, like, our episode.
Yeah.
I, watched everybody from, like, my hometown on Facebook share that bitch, like, you know what
Oh,
I mean? And I'm seeing all the comments that people are leaving. It's just I was just, like, wanting to die, and, like, thinking, like, "Oh my god, what did I do? What did I do?" But thank God, like, I had that I had that, like, taste of, like, you know, helping some other people that are newer than me and getting that, like, "Hey, like, this isn't about me anymore, like, now I have a purpose," you know what I mean? Life is so much bigger than, like, it's just me, and me showing all that can help one single person, I think I will be okay with that, you
yeah.
know? And
100%. Yeah.
you get to see and, like, my darkest my rock bottom, you know what I mean, on national
Mhm.
television, right? And people to feel less alone, knowing that, like, each family is going through it, but they just, like people don't talk, like, about it, right? It's, like,
Right.
shameful and, like, they hide it. Their kid's addicted to drugs, they don't wanna talk about it, right? Or, whatever the case may be in their household. So I started to actually, like, use it as my superpower,
Yeah.
I was
Yeah.
like, "Hey," and even now, even to this day, it's like, I'm so grateful for all those things that I went through because I don't think that like, I would not be the person that I am. I wouldn't be driving now, like, feeling grateful that I have a license and can drive, like, just driving
Yep.
down and looking outside and just being like, whoa, I have like a whole new like pair of glasses on with life because
Yeah.
everything that I did
Yeah.
go through, right? I feel like we're so
Yeah.
lucky in that way for our struggles because like we have a little spice in our lives now and like we have
Yeah.
Yeah.
struggles like that we went through and like it just makes us like the people that we are today, you know?
Mhm.
Hmm. No, there's even a book
Definitely.
called Through a New Pair of Glasses or something that's really good. I don't know if
Yeah.
you read that one,
Yeah.
but yeah, no, that's incredible. So,
Yeah, and
Yeah.
I could relate to you when it comes to being grateful to be able to drive again. Like I watched my car sit and collect dust for like 2 years after a DUI and a breath analyzer in it. And I was paying for it and I couldn't drive that bitch. It just sat there.
Yeah.
And now I'm able to drive everywhere. So it's like it's awesome. Definitely.
it's
Yeah.
it's been 11 years. So, like in that 11 years, have you ever crossed any like breaking points where you thought about going back to using, or do you just always kind of replay the tapes and keep yourself in the right direction? Have there been moments of weakness?
Yeah, definitely. Be only because like okay, so when I had like 6 months sober, my little sister decided that like she wasn't gonna be sober anymore. So I watched that unfold, right? Then I got like a year sober, and my older sister, who I like had this like great relationship with because we would like talk about sobriety and stuff, she decided that she wasn't gonna be sober anymore, and it was just like, huh. And then my best friend at the time, she relapsed. And then I started seeing a guy out here and he had 3 years at the time. and I just took a year, and he decided he wasn't going to be sober anymore. Like things were happening all around me, and it was because I was thinking like, hey, is this going to be my life forever? Like, and like I told you, like I had this reservation thinking that maybe I could drink, and then I watched all those people around me, like, and my sisters and that boyfriend at the time, everybody, like, they were also just heroin addicts.
Yeah.
And I watched them try to drink, and I watched how it went. And I talked about it in meetings, and I like, I constantly talked about it with other people to get outside of my head. But like, and like how we said in the beginning, it's like I would be, drinking to chase the effects that heroin produces, and that's never going to come, And then if I'm already drinking, then I would feel like, what's the point? Might as well like do this or like
Yeah.
have a hangover. Let me get rid of this hangover by doing this,
Becomes a
or
gateway to everything else.
yeah, and just started really thinking. And then I really got deep into like work on myself, and I started to reflect on every time I did drink. What the hell? Like I was constantly fighting people. Do you know what I mean? Like I would black out a lot. I just was really trying to like say like it wasn't like that bad, and trying to
Uh-huh.
justify that for a long time, and did the work on myself and truly learned about alcoholism and like what it is. And I was just like, okay, whoa, So those were definitely like hard things to go through. Something else that like, when I had 5 years sober, no, maybe I had 4 years sober. So I ended up, let me tell you this. I forgot to tell you this part. I had that boyfriend got sober again. I met
Okay.
him when I had like 6 months sober, and now he's my husband, and we've been together for 11 years now. He got
Mhm.
sober again, and um, we so my sister-in-law, she was one of us, but she compared herself constantly to us. She was my best friend. She
Uh-huh.
compared herself to me and, my husband, her brother, who was constantly getting arrested, you know what I mean? Like in and out treatment, stealing, all the things that we did. And she could not
Yeah.
like identify as one of us because she would get blackout drunk. It was like crazy things would happen, but like it's not like she was waking up shaking every day. All the things that she thought that an alcoholic was.
Yeah.
And she ended up, she lived with us. She ended up taking her life in a blackout.
I'm so sorry.
Yeah, so that was like very traumatic, but it's also like I will fight for like whoever now, like doesn't matter the substance that you do or like what it is, like none of that shit matters, you know what I mean? And whatever you need to do to like, I don't know, it just really was like a huge like wake
Yeah.
up call like in my sobriety, right?
Yeah.
Because I don't know about you, but do you guys like remember those dark nights that you had and
Hmm.
wanted to die? And
Yeah.
and but we're still here, and like she isn't anymore, and it's like, forever my in-laws will never be the same. You know what I mean? They're not the same
Yeah.
people. Um it really like sucks. She doesn't I have 2 little kids now. I have a 7-year-old and a 4-year-old. She'll never get to meet them, like it's
Yeah.
just it really hit like hard. So I'm always trying to like, help others and make it a big point of like, dude, like none of that stuff matters, like what you're doing. Also, I don't even care like how you get sober. You know what I mean? Like I don't
Yeah.
care what you do out here. You don't need to go to like meetings and do the same things that I do, but like whatever works for you, like I'm here for it.
Yep.
Completely. Again, another perspective change, and that's what it is about. It's constantly like me versus me, right? Me versus me 11 years ago, I was a completely different person. Me versus me 10 years ago, 5 years ago, 1 year ago, I was like, I'm constantly trying to like grow and just learn
Yeah.
like as I go because it's constantly changing. And I've had a lot of ups and downs. I had sponsees die, overdose, from this disease.
Wow.
So it's just,
Constant reminders.
yes, constant
Constantly.
reminders, and I'm constantly still doing like all the things like even today it was just like, damn, like, you know what I mean? I wanted to not. do this. Because I wanted to sit in bed and do nothing for a second because all I was like, I just like my kids are like, it's just crazy. You know what I mean? One of my teeth cracked. I had to go to the dentist, like all these things. But I started thinking, like, you hear how I just said I had to like deal with my kids. I
Mm-hmm.
had to.
Yeah.
I had to
Yes.
start changing it to I get to do all
Yeah.
these things,
It's an
you know?
opportunity. Yeah.
Yeah, it's like all an opportunity. And I was thinking like this couldn't be a better day to do this. And like even you guys saying like before, the we went on air, like just saying like sometimes you
Yeah.
have shitty days, but it makes us who we are. And like they come out like
Yeah.
better, and it was exactly what I needed to hear. So hearing you guys say that, I was like felt so at home with you two right away. Like, whoa, how are they saying exactly what I need to hear in this very like
I know.
moment today? Because I'm having a hard day. Because that's what happens.
Yeah.
You don't get sober and life gets perfect. Like hard
Yeah.
Yeah.
things like happen still,
Life still
and
happens. Yeah.
Yeah.
yeah. So it's just like,
Yeah.
it's just constantly like putting one foot in front of the other and just showing up and doing all the things
Always.
and having a lot of fun in sobriety too. That is like also it's not
Yeah.
all like bad things. Like I've traveled, you know what I mean? Like I said, I've gotten married. I have 2 kids. I do like, you know what I mean? Like have a lot of like real friendships today, and I
Yeah.
have a relationship
You do.
with my family. We're all on like a group chat with like my family and like my girlfriends too. But both of my sisters today, like my older sister has over 1 year sober today. My little
Yeah.
sister has 6 days today.
Hell
Wow.
yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Good.
It's just like and
Good.
that like I'm so proud like of
For
her,
her.
it's just
Yeah.
like crazy whatever it takes and you know I had to like not push this on them for a very long time. And you know how hard that is with like
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
someone you just want them to get this so bad,
Yeah.
but having to sit back and let people get their own experiences and just
Yeah.
constantly just having faith. No, because knowing that if I can do it, I know that like
They can do it. Just
anyone.
some
Yeah.
different timelines for
Yeah.
everybody, and sounds like your sister's really
Uh-huh.
dedicating herself. I mean, the first 6 days, those are obviously, as you know, really tough.
Yes.
That's an accomplishment. So
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it is like very so
Mm-hmm.
it's just yeah, it's a
Yeah.
cool life.
it's
I'm just winging
amazing.
it.
Yeah. And
No,
I do
you
have
brought
a
up some really good
question.
points.
How you did bring up a lot of good points.
I'll
But I have a
mention it after you're
question.
done.
Tell us how the sober girl group chat came into your life. We just had Brittany on the show. So that was a
Yes.
good one too. That was
Brittany's
fun.
awesome.
Yeah. I love her. So how it came about was I've actually our friend Brittany Jade used to live out here in California. So I ended up connecting with her all on social media basically because in 2020 decided to during COVID just start like, posting videos and eventually since sobriety is a big part of like, my life, I started to share openly about like my sobriety online and then I started to connect with other like people that were in recovery as well. So then I met up with like Brittany since she lived close and she was our friend and Britt Bernard was sponsoring her. So like then we all connected. And then I met Abby as well
Yeah.
online and we became like good friends. And then another girl, Sarah. So all 5 of us hung out for the first time. We like met up and went to some like event at like Coachella thing and then it kind of just like grew from like there. Then we met Rachel and Jenna and
Rachel,
Janine.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I'm
she's a
a
and
funny
huge
one.
Janine.
fan of Rachel.
Yeah, she's just how she is online is really how she is in person and
That's what
like,
Britt said.
she's a good time and we all like a lot of us are, sober moms. So we just like connected like that way as
Yeah.
well because I mean, being like a mom is hard enough and then being like sober, and just not
Yeah.
having that like, like I now like my kids, I'm like friends with a lot of like normies, like my kids' friends' parents, and like
Mhm.
it's just I don't get to like have the luxury of like what they do and have like a glass of wine at the end of the night, you know? They're normal people. They get to do that. And like, I just can't do that. You know what I mean? There are normal people. They can live their life like, you know what I mean? Like with a resentment here and there. I cannot live my life like that. It takes over my whole life. You know what
Yeah.
I mean? Like it's just we think way different than
Yeah. It's
than
so
normal
true.
people, right? So yeah, so we just ended up, you know, kind of all, and then Gabby came into the group because she decided to get sober, and like we kind of just ended up, you know, starting a group chat and talking, and then we decided that we should like open it up, you know, to like others like on the internet, and started this like
Mm-hmm.
Facebook group. And it's just a way like all these other like sober women can like talk about anything and everything in there and like never feel like alone, you know?
Yeah.
So it just started off as this, you know, just like 9 girlfriends, and then like here we are today, and we have a lot of fun together, and but we're like real people with like real problems,
Mm-hmm.
and we have that like bond and connection, you know? And it's
It's
so
awesome.
important in
Yeah,
sobriety. Connection is
It is.
important in
It
sobriety.
is. And you're all different,
seriously.
different backgrounds, but you all have a few things in common when it comes to addiction and where you want to be in life, and you all click. So that's great.
Yes, exactly.
That's awesome.
Yeah, you
That's
guys
so
are all
cool.
hilarious.
We
Literally.
try.
Yep.
How you
Uh,
are.
that's awesome. No, you brought up some great points that I just want to point out. Just like the fact that you said being aware of your surroundings and the people around you when you thought like, oh, maybe I could drink and stuff like that. But then you look at the people around you and you're like, no, I don't want to end up like that. You know, that's, I don't know. It's just a really good point because when I tried to
Hmm.
always convince myself that I could resort to like, maybe I could smoke weed or maybe I could just, you know, pop pills or something for fun. But I'm like, no, because I know where it's going to take me and I've seen what it's doing to other people. So. I just
Yeah.
wanted to recognize
Hmm.
that was a great point you made, and also
Thank
just
you.
how you still can have relationships with normies, you know, because we are different people. You know,
Yeah.
we're come from a different tree, and we react to things differently, we respond differently, but we can still have relationships with those people and let them live their lives, and we can live ours. So that's good.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it
No,
does
thank
get
you.
better. It does get
Yes.
better. And I do have a question for you. If you are able to speak to somebody who's sober curious out there, any listeners or somebody, you know, trying to get sober or in early sobriety, what advice would you give them?
I would say that, you know, to just reach out, tell somebody, you know what I mean? Talk to somebody about it. Don't like just keep it to yourself. Like, and that's why these days I do share a lot of like my story and like my personal life and my sobriety, because for so long I did suffer in silence, you know what I mean? And all it takes is like, you know, sometimes to just reach out, you know, for help. Like if you are, you know, if you think you do have a problem or whatever that looks like, just to definitely reach out and just to know that, you know, you're not alone and you deserve to be happy and to do whatever you want in life. And that's the coolest thing about like my sobriety today, and is the freedom that I have to do whatever I want in life. You know, whatever that looks like, I get to do because I'm not like chained down to a drink or a drug anymore. So
Hmm.
I would definitely just say that. And like you just said, it does get better. Everything can be better. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? It does
Yeah.
get better. You don't have to feel stuck
I
or
love what your
alone.
profile says. I used to do bad things and now I don't, you know, because it just shows we're all capable of changing, you know, like thinking back to all the things we're doing, the stuff that they showed on the screen during Dr. Phil, you know, you react to those things and you just look back and you're like, that's not me anymore, you know. People can judge me for that if they want, but it's not who I am. You know, every choice I make now is, you know, for growth. So that's
Yeah. And I like how you said that, like, because I was one of those people that thought like people never change, you know, and now we're like such proof that people do and we can,
yeah,
you know?
Yeah.
exactly.
Yeah.
Somebody said in the meeting
Definitely.
today I was in, he's like, yeah, just because you were a piece of shit doesn't mean you don't hold value. And I was like, it's a really serious way of saying it. But yeah, I was
Yeah.
like, I'm going to make a t-shirt about
It's so
that. But I'm
true.
like, yeah, I think I was a POS at one point, you know, just looking back at the lies and the deceit and
I
just
was.
like how I treated relationships. And I'm like, crap, I couldn't imagine doing that now, but at least I know I won't do that now.
Yeah. That's
Yeah.
so good. So true.
Yeah. St. Patrick's
Rachel, do you
Day
have
was
any
a
more?
good reminder for me.
Yeah, I used to
All
get
those
hammered on
memories.
St.
Oh my
Patty's Day.
God.
Mhm.
Fuck. Yeah. Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, cringy.
Posted a picture yesterday, and like the before picture when I was taking a shot, I was just like, I look so dead inside, you know, and, like my spirit left
Yeah.
my body, and I'm like, it's so nice, like you said, to have freedom now to do anything we want.
Yeah. And
Yes.
truly live, because we were just existing for so
Exactly.
long.
Exactly, and then now we're all, you know, taking time to help others and spread the word and be vulnerable about where we've been, and it's helping others. So that's amazing.
Yeah, thank
Yeah.
you so much for what you guys do, because it is like giving people a voice, and like, you know, and it's definitely helping others. So I appreciate it so much.
We appreciate what
Thank
you're
you
doing
for what
too.
you do.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you.
No, you're definitely
Seriously.
making a difference. Seriously. So I appreciate you coming on the show. Honestly, this is one of my favorite interviews we've done. You went into so much detail, and like you have such a good outlook on everything then and now.
So thank you guys
I was like,
again.
Rock Bottom with Ryan. No bullshit, just recovery.